Hey, hey, hey.
Camerae.
Watching Camerae.
Oh my.
On Camerae.
Hello.
Music TV.
Are you listening to me?
So enjoy yourself.
This girl is always
so
singing.
Enjoy yourself.
Hello. Camerae, come on. It's time to start the show.
Oh. Woo. What a week. What a week. If you're watching visually, you see I have concealer all up under my brows and I'm currently putting on my makeup. If you're listening just by audio, lucky you. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Camerae, and I'm back with another episode of this podcast, hashtag JTFIO, or just trying to figure it out. And if you're wondering what I'm just trying to figure out, it's I'm getting ready for my day while recording this episode, because as we get into this episode, you guys will find out why I literally have no time. I mean, this Thanksgiving break, it can't come soon enough. I have no time for sleep. I have no time for thoughts. I have no time. All right, but anyway, if you're new here and you haven't left already, make sure you follow us, follow this brand, follow this podcast. The brand is at Camerae Music TV on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can subscribe to this podcast down below, or download the episodes on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, or you can follow the Instagram for the podcast at JTFIO Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, so as I somehow try to get this together, because I let this dry a little too long. Anyway, I wasn't here last week, and I'm about to explain to you guys why. So, if you don't know, I am a teacher, and I was teaching middle school technology, loving it, loving introducing the kids and somehow promoting technology and the use of it, and upping our typing speed and posture, feet flat on the floor, and all of these things. Then it was presented to me that there was a need for me to pivot at the school, within the school. And I have military background, so I'm with whatever's going to move the unit, whatever's going to help the unit, whatever's going to help the company. So I said, whatever needs to happen, wherever I need to go, whatever I need to do. So that's what we're talking about this week, is transition. As I've been transitioning into this new position, oh my God, you have to keep a good attitude, right, in transitions, because there's so many that don't really understand it. There's so many people that don't really like it. And there's so much room for error that it's like, if you bring feelings in with it too, then you're overcomplicating an already stressful, anxiety-filled transition decision, right? So it's not just, changing a job. It can be moving somewhere new. It can be, maybe going from living by yourself to now having a roommate, or maybe going from, maybe from being single and now your significant other has moved in. All these are transitions, and they require a lot of patience. They require a lot of tact, thinking yourself through things. This is like cocaine right here. This is Fenty setting powder. They require a lot. They do. And you don't think about it until you're in it, because of course I'm a Scorpio and I'm rather slightly impulsive. It's calmed down a lot since my 30th birthday. Well, since I've gotten older, but with us, it's like we'll take on the challenge and deal with the issues or the trial and error as it comes much later. And that's not always it's not always ideal to do that because you don't prep yourself for things. You don't think too much about the future, but then also if you think too much about the future, you may talk yourself out of it, right? So an important thing to do when you're transitioning. I can't believe I'm doing my makeup. This just lets you know how comfortable I am on this screen, or how little time I have. When you're preparing yourself for transition, it's best to research and actually back up. It's best to keep a good and positive attitude. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're happy about it. It's just that you're remaining positive, which means you're not giving any bad energy to the situation. You're not allowing yourself to think of the what ifs. You are simply preparing yourself mentally and emotionally to be what you need to be during this transitional period to make it over to the next side. And so that is something that I had to consider because in my case, it involved children. And when it involves children, sorry guys. When it involves children, you really have to be careful because when you have a certain attitude towards something, it rubs off on the kids, okay? If you're going through a divorce and the kids see you, treating the partner a certain type of way, because you can have a disagreement, you can simply not be vibing. You can be doing all that without tearing down the other entity and creating just bad vibes. And so it was important to me that I have a good attitude, remain positive because I am that anyway, because I just didn't know. And I felt like transitions are my life. I have always been transitioning in or out of something. So, it's so funny because I probably would never be doing my makeup like this, but that's what we're gonna have to work with for today. Okay, so anyway, you got to check your attitude. Next, you want to prepare yourself for the what ifs by doing a bit of research. Okay, you know what position you're going into, you know what you're leaving, so you're gonna have turnover, you're gonna need stuff that you need for there. You got to leave something better than you found it. You got to leave stuff for that person that's taking over for you and not a mess. And then you got to come into something ready to move, ready to work, right? So the thing is, we always think that we see ourselves doing something. And then God is like, I'm about to put you here and I'm going to use you for this. And although you don't understand it, maybe it's not meant for you to understand in that moment. Maybe it's just meant for you to be that vessel to do. And so, although I honestly don't understand why I'm where I'm at, I feel like it's where God is having me be. And so let's move. Let's get it done. All right. So, turnover, if you guys are not familiar, when I was in the military, before I was getting out, I had to prepare a book step by step for the person that was taking my place, or actually for the person that was going to be working the position next. Let me say it like that, which is better. For the person that was going to be working the position next, and then any of those other coworkers that I had, they needed to have a book that basically contained all my knowledge in it, so that when I leave the military, which they won't be able to call me, which they still find some way to do so, I should have something in this book letting people know what's good. All right. So whether you're transitioning out of a different state, out of a different job, out of a different school, out of a relationship, and there's some reason why someone needs some of the remnants of what you're leaving behind, it's best to do turnover. It's best to have things that show like, okay, this is what to do in case of this. This is how I handled this. This is who you call for this. Just like when you're babysitting for somebody's child, right? So it was important to me that I do turnover, because if not, even still in most jobs, they're going to ask you, hey, what did you do for this? Where's the file for that? They're going to ask you, right? So I went through that little bit and how to best because even if you're operating in mess, which most of us, we don't operate in mess, but we operate in our own system. Your system has to be able to speak to whoever. It needs to be universal. So it takes work to do turnover. Um, you have to create something that's user friendly, that's easily transferable. So it's not going to be such a hassle to get to. And so all of those things considered, this is what I was doing last week when you guys should have had a new episode, was getting ready for that. Also getting ready to celebrate my husband and my birthday, also still going to school. Also, it doesn't stop. And so when you're transitioning multiple things, I'm 100% sure this is preparing me for something else in life. So I don't want to whine too much and gripe and complain. I prefer to look at the better side of things. But if I were to complain, if I were to feel like, what the heck is going on? I feel like I kind of have the right to, because there's so many moving parts. Although it would not be productive, you have the right to complain. You have the right to sit and sulk. You have the right to be confused. You have the right to be upset. But is it productive? Right? So, like I said, so you prepare, and you do proper turnover. If you don't have the time to turn over, you leave what you can. And when I say turnover, that doesn't mean turnover like a messy desk. Turnover is like all a part of that, right? Okay, so after that, you go ahead and take a minute to collect yourself for what's about to happen, because it would be unfair to stop this one day, start this the next day. It's just not feasible. It's just not how we operate. And if you're dealing with children, dogs, pets, like, they cannot just switch like that. We're humans, not robots. All right. So you need a minute to kind of pivot and redirect what's happening. And so there's no set rule on how long you need, but you must be honest with yourself that in this time you need to be working on that. If you need more time, you should ask for that. If there is no time, you got to move it what you got. I didn't have a whole lot of time, had to move it what I got. But one thing I kept and I remained with was a positive attitude, because it is just me. A lot of things I didn't understand. First year teacher, work with kids a lot of my life, but first year teacher. And so a lot of this was just like, why are we doing this? What does this mean? Lord, I don't know what we doing, but I'm going to get out here and I'm going to follow what you telling me to do. I'm going to be the vessel, and I'll ask questions later. I'll ask questions as I go. I'm going to prepare my classroom. I'm going to make sure I'm that person that the kids understand. Like, there's no attitude coming from over here, because there are just times when you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which they love to say, right? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get it done for the sake of whoever is the one that it's affecting the most, which is the student. Okay, so I know I'm using teacher analogies a lot, but you guys, you have to apply it other places. If you're in the military, apply it to your airmen. And if you're having to change something, if you're going from having 1 airman to now having 4 airmen, they're going to need you to perform at a certain level. And it's not going to be about your woes and your complaints about how many airmen you have. They simply gave you those airmen for a reason. And although it sucks, you have to make this transition a good one, and you have to you got to do what you got to do to reach success, right? So I'm almost done, guys, with this makeup. Sorry. So with all that being said, I gave myself a couple minutes to understand, okay, you are no longer teaching an elective. You're no longer teaching an elective. You're no longer the technology teacher. So things are no longer technology driven. You have a statewide test. You have things that you need to be promoting. You have different vernacular in this class that you need to be learning. Who do you ask? Where do you identify? You have a new classroom. It's located somewhere else. Your schedule is different, which means you don't have this break anymore. You have this break. Okay, you have these kids, these reading levels. You have all of this going on. All these things you need to be understanding and fast, right? So, it takes a minute to process that, and we are human. So, in most cases, in most jobs, They do understand that there will be feelings. In my heart of hearts, I feel like feelings just cloud the process. I will feel later. Let me get in here, do what I need to do, and I'll feel later. I won't be in this position forever. It's just that type of rhetoric that you have to tell yourself that a lot of people actually have an issue telling themselves. So, let me see. So I had my little break, right? And so I move on into what I'm supposed to be doing. And it wasn't even that I was already started. It was that, okay, let me pick up what they're doing over there. Let me see what are I almost swallowed that. Setting spray. All right, let me see what are the expectations. Let me see what are the behavioral issues. Let me see. And so if you have time to do that, which you don't always have time, but like if you're moving somewhere, you need to go out and vet that place. You need to go fly there. You need to go drive there. You need to look around, because just Googling, just looking online is not the way. You need to make the connection before you fully transition to make a proper transition, because you need to understand what it's going to be like within that context as you're in there, right? I could sit there and I could look at plans and I could look at notes and I could look at video and worksheets, but if I'm not in the class, I don't really understand how things are happening. And I had a great coworker help me with that transition, still helping me with that transition, had a great supervisor to help me with that transition. So the question does not become adequacy, whether you're adequate or whether you can do a job. It's how effortless is, or how seamless is this transition going to be, based on your preparation, based on your attitude, based on stuff like that, right? And all this is going on. I like to be transparent with you guys, because I'm sincerely just trying to figure it out, like every day of my life. I had got to a place where I was getting comfortable. And comfortable is a very weird word for me, because I do so much. And so somebody else who had my life would probably be uncomfortable, because there's so many moving parts. But I was getting comfortable within my within my mess, if that makes sense. Well, not really mess, but within my roles. Within school, within brand management. And then things started to slowly slow down with the brand, and then school, and had to get this graduation application in, and had to register for classes next semester, and birthdays were here, and like a lot of things were coming in, and I just was like, bruh, I don't see how people are handling all of these things. Now I understand personal assistants. Now I understand publicists, and I understand all these things, right? And so as I'm transitioning into a different season, daylight savings time is here, birthdays are over, like we're transitioning into the holidays, like there's so many things that I need to write down and stay abreast of and not get too frustrated. And it's not in a falsehood where I'm just like, don't get mad. It's okay. It's not any of that. It's fully being present in my feelings. Like, I feel frustrated with this. Why is frustration not effective and not going to be progressive in what I'm trying to do? So I take that moment to prepare myself to, internalize what's happening and get over it, because I got things that I want to do, that I'm trying to do, and it's good to have things, right? So all that being said, I move into my new position after making proper planning. I get in there, trial and error. I start to understand context. I start to understand levels, and it just is important to do and it's also important to understand that once you transition, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Transitioning is a new schedule. Like I said, it's new attitudes. It's understanding that I am somewhere new and the old is no more. Is this going to go left? Is this going to go right? It's up to me. No matter what's going on around me, it is up to me to decide what we doing, where we going with this, right? So, I just kind of wanted to get on here and talk to you guys about transitions, because that's what's going on in my life right now. And that's what I'm currently just trying to figure out, how to transition into the holidays after birthdays, planning for trips next year, transitioning to a more, being married instead of going home for holidays for every single holiday, transitioning to, I got to get all this schoolwork done before the semester is over so I can graduate, transitioning to a place where, you're not a new teacher, but you're new in this position. So kids need to understand that this is what you offer now. It's just a lot. But I'm a positive entity and I believe in balance and I believe that it's going to happen. We got it, right? So if you guys enjoyed this week's show, make sure you subscribe, download the episode, share it with all your friends, like and follow. And let me put isn't this cup cute? I got it from Forever 21. I hope they don't go bankrupt. But I'll see you guys next time.